And hello, everyone. Welcome to WD Carousel, a podcast. My name's Ian.
And I'm Crystal.
And we're sitting in the same room for the first time in a really long time.
And the reason why I'm so giggly right now is normally when we do our little, we sing to each other before we pop on to time ourselves up.
Yeah.
Normally there's a lag, or there has been. And it wasn't laggy because you're right next to me. I don't know why that just got me.
The social distancing stuff makes it less easy to do any real-time riffing because there's that weird little delay. The news stuff. There's that little delay. Yeah, we've been working with that for the last 3 or 4 months. So
yeah, since March. God. Yeah. It's okay. By the way, COVID is still happening. So
don't take this as us going, we're done. Woo! That's not where we're at. No,
but we've been quarantining, and we've decided that we were going to expand our pods a little bit more to include each other. But we're very much in open communication as far as exposure possibilities.
And so if there's a moment that seems risky, we're always keeping that. So we might go back. We might.
Who knows?
Mix and match,
but
whatever
today
works.
We're trying the back together again.
Yes.
We got the gang back together.
The gang is all here. And by all, I mean 2 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're an awesome gang.
We're an awesome gang. 2 of us can equal a whole gang. Just the 2 of us.
Okay, so we should stop,
Yes, this whole thing and move on
to the actual topic?
Well, I mean, people... Anyway.
Okay, so this topic, I will admit, when we started talking about this, we were like, okay, this is going to be the throwaway section of all of the discovering series. But then as we did the research, we're like, holy buckets.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I mean it was a backstory.
It's a lot of compensation, to be honest.
Right.
But the backstory was so interesting.
Yeah.
The Imagineers really tried to make things work for us. So there's a lot of content to go over.
So to jump in, before we jump into the content that you unearthed that I had no idea existed, I'll
unearthed the fossils from the ground.
I will start with why that content had to exist in the first place. So
we're talking about first off, Dinoland USA.
Yeah, Dinoland USA in Animal Kingdom, and there's kind of 2 main sections. We're jumping ahead, but we'll get back to it. There's kind of 2 main sections. There's kind of the main kind of more archaeological science aspect, and then there's Dinorama, which makes literally no sense because you walk in, you're like, this looks like a carnival. Why would Disney have put all the time and effort into doing this? Well, the trick is apparently they had a couple of different thoughts for the space, and early on they had a really temporary tent exhibit.
Oh yeah,
and it was really bad. And it was Dinosaur Jubilee or whatever. And
they had Dino Jubilee, and then they also had the museum.
Yes,
so those were 2 separate things, but they were in, like you said, non-permanent tent structures. But they actually had full fossilized skeletons of dinosaurs in there.
And it was cool, but it was always designed to be temporary. And for whatever reason, they finally we need to do something, and they just did this. And because I think of a budget constraint,
I don't know,
because it was the 90s, and
the edit came, I believe, around the 9/11 drop.
Got it.
So that's when attendance,
there was a pretty hefty decline in tourism at that point. So
they weren't going to throw a lot of money to revamp a whole new area of the park.
Right.
But the Imagineers do not, I have to give them a lot of recognition on this.
Yeah.
They will take whatever little measly
thing they've been given to do,
and they will come up with a huge backstory. So I think that's how we're going to open this up. Let's talk about the backstory
I think that's a great idea.
Dinoland to make you slightly more interested in this side of the park than we ever
imagined
were.
We would be. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you want me to cover this, or do you want to go over this?
Go ahead and jump in. I've got plenty that I need to talk about. So
okay,
feel
so
free.
I'm going to do the background here.
All right, do it. You want to?
I will control the clicker. I have a clicker
She has
again.
There's a clicker's back.
Yay! Okay. Back in the 1940s in Diggs County, along Old Highway 498, there was a rustic fishing lodge and farm where an amateur archaeologist located a fossil.
Ooh.
Along that area was Chester and Hester's. That was a rundown Sinclair gas station. Get the Dino connection?
Yeah. Sinclair's like, what are you doing now?
I know. And then, like I said, in 1947, the amateur fossil hunter found the bone.
Okay.
They went and got it verified with a paleontologist, its validity, and the whole group of friends decided to buy the lodge and the land.
Okay.
So they can go ahead and have digs and stuff.
Yeah.
Which then eventually led to the beginnings of the Dino Institute, as we know it, through the attraction.
Yes.
Okay, so the Institute was eventually, as institutes and, levels of education, higher education are, they are taken over by college students.
Of course.
And as they do, pranks run abound. And so things like mess halls and this and that all of a sudden are having lots of little additions that are Osaurus themed. So restaurant Osaurus, there'll be like license plates Osaurus and everything Osaurus. It's the tagging version of Dinoland.
Disney's very family-friendly graffiti situation.
Yeah, they eventually they take the vehicle maintenance hunt for this, institute, as well as the semi-permanent lodging tents, and pull them into Restaurantosaurus. So that's where Restaurantosaurus actually has like 7 different themed
it's like
eating areas.
Massive. I've never even set foot in. Like I've never even I've just always bypassed all of that stuff. So I've never.
There's
even
also
looked.
like an Airstream attached to it, like a little silverfish that actually has 2 booths in it. So it still has the kitchen area and the sink, and then there's a booth over here and a booth over here at the front and the butt.
Oh my god!
It's just linking it all to the same Restaurantosaurus.
Oh, funny.
Inside there are you can find sketches from Fantasia's The Rite of Spring, the original Fantasia.
Okay.
So that's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah.
There's a bucket of water over the exit door. So that way, it could drop on unsuspecting college students. Obviously secured, but, the joke's still there.
Yeah.
The lodge game room, because, this was a lodge at one point in time, was transformed into the hip joint.
Nice.
Which, being arthritic in my hips, I was like,
you guys see what you're doing there.
Inside, they have rocks from students' hometowns and awards around the place, like the golden spatulas.
Oh,
and,
yes, of course.
All those sorts of things.
Oh, my God.
There is a water tower around that area, too, that on the backside, there's a target painted on the back with like suction cup arrows sticking out of it. And if you look across the way from it on the roof of another building, I can't remember what building, there are actually 2 lawn chairs up there with extra bows and arrows attached and like plastic dinosaurs and...
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like they really went all out as far as, so here's your content. Let's go with theming here.
Yeah.
So,
oh my god.
Pterodactyl Terrace.
Oh my god. And just so you know, terrace is spelled the same way pterodactyl is, with a P at the beginning.
With the silent P.
Oh my god.
I'm not going to get into that joke. Okay. But they have a basketball hoop on the outside of the building as well for, your extracurricular activities.
Yeah, of course.
What are you going to do once you're off of a dig site? Those sorts of things. There's the commissary door that actually has a sign that says that this is going to be locked until certain hours. And there's a whole string of broken locks, and then on the actual door jamb you can see like the lock hinges.
Oh my god.
And then underneath there's a sign that says, okay, we give up, we have all of the refreshments in a cooler, which you can now find next to the 2 lawn chairs up on top of the roof.
Oh my god.
So they stole
it. Oh my god.
And the area of the land was originally sponsored by McDonald's. So you're going to find a lot of really weird connections to McDonald's on there that we'll talk about later. And then, so let's get to the reefer. Okay. So that was all existing there. They had the Jubilee still. They had the museum still. It was still mostly educational. And at this point in time, it was a pretty much overlooked part of the park.
Yeah.
So the story goes, Chester and Hester, not wanting to be outdone by the Dino Institute, because the Dino Institute was growing, but their little rundown gas station was being pretty. They decided to make it a roadside highway attraction.
Why not?
And they started selling real tacky souvenirs with tacky fancy cardboard cutouts, eventually going to the point of being like, hey, let's put in our little version of an amusement park right across the road.
This is like this is as meta as Disney gets.
So that's where the rationale comes from for all of these really low-level attractions to be in a high-quality theme park.
They were able to explain that away. That's so funny.
So they have not only the, really off-the-rack attractions. They also have, carnival games and stuff that you can play with, and everything is, cartoon dino themed over there because, the Chester and Hester did not want to be outdone by the Dino Institute. Might as well stick with the theming, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And so, even their huge dinosaur statues are made to look like those tin toys that they had from the 50s.
Yes.
So they have the little snaps that you can follow down the seam, the metal snaps, the tin snaps. And it's hilarious. And the level of theming, we're going to get into the breakdown of all of this as we do the walkthrough. But that's the backstory for the most part behind it and why there's such a big division of this land.
Yeah, it's dramatic.
As well as the quality of the attractions in that area. So I'm going to let him take the clicker now, and we're going to do our walkthrough.
Yes. Yes. We're going to jump to the walkthrough. So, and I haven't looked at the map in a hot minute, so I looked at it.
I almost brought the map with me. The Wilderness Explorer, little handbook map.
That would have been great. Yeah, well, I looked at it recently. I always do
I came in the rain. It was going to melt if I would have.
It would have been bad.
It was torrential downpour.
So, like all the worlds in Animal Kingdom, you've got the Discovery Island as the hub with kind of, you'd take these little bridges that kind of cross over the
spokes,
the spoke and wheel system, and you cross over the River of Discovery into Discovery River, whatever they want to call it, something like that. You cross over it from Discovery Island, and then you end up inside the kind of Dino Institute side of Dinoland. So you will walk in, and you will right to the right, you will see trilobites. This is gonna continue the entire time.
Yes, cheesiness.
The cheesiness will be there the entire time.
Whether we want to blame the college students or Chester and Hester,
either way, it's the same. It's very sophomoric.
It's very
So trilobites will be on the right, and then on the left will be
what do they offer on trilobites?
I have that written down, but not right here.
Okay, we will cover that later.
We'll get back to that, but yes, I do have that. And then to the left, there is a path. And the reason I bring it up, because it goes to Asia, but it also goes to Finding Nemo the Musical, which is weird because Finding Nemo the Musical
technically part of Dinoland.
It is. It's technically so the theater that Finding Nemo the Musical is in, which we've talked about in the past, is actually in the Dinoland USA area, but it's kind of separated enough where you don't think about it. I almost kind of think about it of a land unto itself. Like it's kind of its own thing.
It's the one theater. It's a huge theater, but it's a one theater.
Yeah.
I mean, we could let's be pretend Imagineers for a second and be like, okay, how can we rationalize this? Fish are one of the lower levels of,
and they're also very old because they're in the water. Like a lot of old types of life came from the oceans.
Sharks can live over 100 years.
Yeah, sure. So we'll go with that.
They before things walked on land, they swam in the ocean.
Yes.
So therefore, that is our connection.
It's all developmentally connected. But anyway, so Finding Nemo the Musical, because it had nowhere else to go, lives right there. And then if you look back straight ahead and you keep going, you'll see the boneyard on the left, which is like a kids' play area that's themed after the excavation dig from the Dino Institute.
Yep.
And then there are
and
exhibits.
It has multiple levels and climbing areas.
Yes, it's pretty neat. It's actually, I remember it being really cool when I was quite young.
I thought, the treehouse in Adventureland would have been instead of just a walkthrough attraction.
Yeah.
I would have expected more interactive play and being able to go up here, down here, slide here, do this, do that.
That one's more honestly, I have appreciated that treehouse way more as an adult. So this is definitely the same idea but targeted for kids. So it's pretty cool. And then if you keep walking straight ahead after looking at the boneyard on the left, there's some exhibits in there with some animals that we'll talk about in a minute, but there is some stuff in there. There are actually live animals in there. And then if you go...
Are they dinosaurs?
They're little baby dinosaurs.
Yes.
So you go to the right hand, and there's two paths that diverge around this kind of little island of actual exhibits. The right-hand path will take you by Wilderness Explorer stop.
Yep.
And then if you keep packing...
And a smoking section.
And yep, there you go. That seems like a weird combo. And then you keep walking past that. You'll keep walking past Dino Bites, snacks, and Restaurantosaurus, and then there's some bathrooms over there. And then there's interpretive paths around the dinosaurs if you keep walking, and then you will basically walk up to the path that goes up to the dinosaur attraction, which is the official Dino Institute.
Yes, and I think that's where they moved some of the attractions from the old museum and Jubilee area. Yes. They moved them over to the big foundation of the dinosaur attraction.
Yep.
Since we're on that, I'm going to bring up real quick one of my favorite little tidbits about that attraction is that in the queue for the ride, as you are entering into your time traveler vehicle, you're going to see all of these pipes overhead that have different chemical components listed out on them. And since this used to be sponsored by McDonald's, it is ketchup's chemical compound, mustard's chemical compound, and I believe relish.
Oh, so they just broke it down into like what its chemical elements were, and like made it. Oh my god!
So it's like Ca2 blah blah. I don't even know. I'm not a scientist like that, but you get what I'm saying. So you're going to see all of these letters and numbers from the elemental table.
That is
and
so funny.
It's hilarious
because like if you're not paying attention, you would never
know. They're also color coded red and yellow and white. So
maybe it's mayo.
I don't think so though.
Okay.
And I think because I remember that it wasn't because it threw me off that even though it was white,
it wasn't mayo.
It wasn't mayo.
Interesting.
But
so that's we'll get back to dinosaur, but there's so much detail, which is kind of true for Animal Kingdom in general. There's a lot of detail and backstory. And then if you go around the corner of this main path, so you'll be coming around the back side of those exhibits, and you see dinosaur on your right. You come around, you will find yourself in Dinorama, which is so different. So you walk in, and it's this big carnival, and then on the left you will see the Triceratops spin, which is the
Triceratops spin. Capital T.
Yep.
And the reason behind that is because the main structure of this Dumbo-like attraction is meant to look like a 50s child's spinning top toy.
Yeah, very much, very 1950s. The whole thing feels very 50s carnival-y, so yeah. And then on the right was where Primeval World used to be, which was a big component of the thing. So it's
that was
a big deal that
was
a Crazy Mouse.
Yeah, Crazy Mouse ride.
Yeah.
It was always down. I never went on it, and that would have been one of the few roller coasters for some reason that my brain was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, but those are even weirder because they're dips and anyway.
I know.
Well, we have a whole thing about this,
weird.
But anyway,
you know this.
If you keep going on the trail through Dinorama, you will see Fossil Fun Games, which is the carnival
attractions
stuff, and then Dino Diner is on the right, which is all sorts of fun. And then that's kind of at that point you could retrace your steps and find your way back.
Do you think they offer dino-shaped chicken nuggets?
If they don't, that would be really, really unfortunate.
It would be a missed opportunity.
It is very much a missed opportunity. So that's kind of it's not a huge land, but it's got it's pretty dense and it's packed with some very interesting things. But yeah, so that's the thing. And then we can kind of just jump through there's not a ton of attractions in there, and most of them aren't rides, so we can just kind of go through.
Yeah, I will say one of my favorite parts about the Dinorama Chester and Hester area is the Imagineering that went into making what essentially was a swamp.
Yes.
Look like a beat up old 50s asphalt parking lot.
Yeah.
Like the technique that they did to do that, because they thought about using asphalt originally like they did in the Disneyland park when it first came up, but since Florida gets pretty hot, they didn't want people's shoes to sink through like day one of Disneyland. So they figured out a technique to do with cement. And they used chicken wire. They put chicken wire down, put in the cement, let it dry for a little bit, and at this exact time they would pull it up and it would leave the little bubbles like asphalt would. And then they, could you imagine being the Imagineer that had to go in there and carve all the cracks in the asphalt?
That level of detail.
Do you think they went to like a parking lot and just took a whole bunch of pictures being like, okay, that's a good crack.
Honestly,
let me copy this.
The amount of like research trips that those Imagineers go on to find like the authenticity for stuff is amazing.
And they used to even have old cars laid out in the parking lot, which is now a picnic area, so that way you can sit and eat. But having the 50s cars sitting there on designed to look like 50s asphalt. It's crazy.
It's just insane. But Yeah, so anyway, we can kind of run through these attractions. There's some details, some things that are not as interesting, but we'll kind of just move through them. So the Boneyard we already talked about.
Yep.
Then there's the Fossil Fun Games, which is definitely like carnival. I think there's like the shooting, target shooting.
There's a water gun one. There's a ring toss one. There's, because this is Disney, so they're not going to have too many sharp objects. So it's not going to be like darts or anything. I believe that there might be a baseball throwing one. I don't know. There's like 5 or 6.
Yeah, just some of those details.
Another good way to get extra money for Disney's pocket.
Exactly. And then finally, the musical technically has to be there, but we're going to skip over it because we'll probably talk. We've already talked about it in our best shows, but we'll probably talk about it again.
Yes.
It's amazing. Not really dino themed, so just kind of know that's a thing. Yep, and then Triceratops Spin, which we've already talked about, is a classic Dumbo style attraction, part of the Dinorama world
area.
Yeah. So then Dinosaur, all caps, Dinosaur. Is I gotta stop doing that.
I just love how in the intro video they have a hand puppet dinosaur.
I know. That show is that ride is such a trip.
Ridiculous.
It's so funny.
It was supposed to be the East Coast comparison to Indiana Jones.
Yes.
So they use the same ride vehicle and the same sort of intent behind it, but the grandness of it does not compare.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fun.
It is.
Question mark?
Yeah, because it's the same. It is cool because it's like the same, the motion enhanced vehicle thing where it follows the track on a smooth track, but then it pretends. So it's like a motion simulator on another like powered sled.
Yeah, it's
basically
a Jeep with the lifts on the actual
cars.
So
So it fakes it throws you around, but it's not actually being thrown around.
I broke a phone screen on a car like that at one point in time on a ride.
Oh jeez. Yeah.
Anyways.
So it's that, and apparently Indiana Jones, which I know about but I've never ridden.
It's so much better.
I've heard it's amazing.
So much better.
And you get to go through like this amazingly themed temple and all this like amazing stuff with all these details and multiple endings and like all sorts of crazy stuff. But this one just doesn't. And it used to be. They went for the sensory overload perspective with it, so it was like the original idea was they'd hit you with a blast of warm air. You'd have like all the really intense sights and sounds of like prehistoric world,
or
and
at
then
least what we think it is,
with all this dense foliage and darkness and all whatever.
Wait, wrong one.
Yeah, well, it's close enough. The problem though is I feel like, and I can't confirm this, and I looked around for it and I could not confirm this, but I think very recently they did a renovation and pulled some of those more finicky effects out.
Yes, they did. But this is actually, we should do an episode
on this.
Yeah.
A
ride spotlight.
Because there's a lot of stuff to talk about here.
There's a lot of stuff in here.
More of the story. Last thing I'll say is last time I rode it, I was disappointed by it didn't feel as like overstimulating as it used to. I felt kind of like like it didn't have the same.
It's like, oh no.
Yeah. Ah! Yeah, exactly. It's like, whoa, this bridge is rickety. Whoa, that's what it felt like.
Different part of Animal Kingdom,
but we'll get there. Don't worry, we'll come back around. And then there's the animal exhibits that we were talking about in there, which is, as you were saying, the mini dinosaurs. It's evolutionarily linking species. So dinosaur, the crocodiles, alligators, turtles, reptilians of that type, and
herpetological animal
stuff. Yes,
my babies.
Yeah, babies.
My baby alligators.
Yeah. So they have those in there.
And I say that, and everybody goes, "Yeah, you're weird," but they don't realize that I actually have an alligator. So moving on.
No,
legit.
Legit.
Her name's Bobber, and she's adorable. Moving on.
Moving on. So then there's some dining options, which I thought had more information about them.
Restaurantosaurus, I know, does burgers, fries.
Yeah, the standard stuff.
Basically, it's supposed to be the mess tent cafeteria.
Yes. Yeah, the
food.
commissary. Yeah.
I believe that the's a pizza option there too.
Isn't there always?
But Disney pizza's not the best.
It really, truly is not. Dinobite snacks is, I believe, just kind of your standard like pretzels and just kind of stuff there. Yeah, that sort of thing. And then Trilobites, I believe, is the same. They're kind of Dinobites and Trilobites do the same thing.
The Dino Diner is the popcorn area.
Okay.
Because that makes sense to be in the
Dinorama area. Yeah. Yeah, I have a distinct memory of writing down some of the details on this, and I didn't. So anyway, Ian's notes were not as descriptive as Ian remembered his notes being. So
it's
that's
okay.
a fun little moment. Yeah, and so it's Dino Bite Snacks, Trilobites, and Dino Diner all kind of do more of the smaller, kind of more walk-up stuff instead of being like an actual counter service. And then there's a couple of spots for shopping.
Chester and Hester.
Yeah.
And their tacky souvenir area. Like, you even walk inside, and it's just... You expect to see the roadside.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Costs actually like 10 cents to make, but they're going to sell it for
40.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
$40.
Yeah. It's... It's a lot.
A lot of kitsch on the ceiling.
Supposed to look like the old Sinclair station, right? Like expanded out from the original train station or whatever. So yeah, that's the first one. Definitely like the Route 66 roadside attraction. It also has, on top of the cheap souvenirs and tacky toys, it's got some snacks as well that they actually sell.
Yeah, like
on-site.
candies. I know that they have like the per the vial size sugars.
Sure.
You know, like the unofficial pixie sticks.
Yeah. Tinkerbell sticks.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
Fairy
so
sticks.
that's a whole thing. And then the last one is the Dino Institute. There's only 2 shops, so it's that one and then the Dino Institute shop.
Which is at the exit.
It's the exit through the gift shop of Dinosaur.
Yes.
So there you go. So there were a couple of things that used to be here.
Before they decided to upgrade to Dinorama.
Yeah, exactly. In the spot where I believe where Finding Nemo is now was the Tarzan Rocks attraction, which was like it was basically a rock concert that had like a live kind of stage show element to it. So it was kind of two at the same time. I actually think I saw this one. It's actually my notes. I actually think I saw this one. And I remember...
He literally says, I think I might have seen this.
I have to write this stuff down or I forget. It was cool. I was young, so I don't remember exactly, but I remember being like, oh, neat, they have like a guy who sounds kind of like Phil Collins, and I'm kind of into that. And so they would sing, and they had like
your love of Phil Collins.
Right. I have 2 ears and a heart, don't I? They do that, and then they have Tarzan actually.
Is it supposed to be kind of like the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular in MGM?
No, because it was it was more like Finding Nemo the musical, and like it had an actual plot line that ran without being backstage. Okay. But they had like the music was separate, so it was sort of like more of like a constant music concert that had Tarzan in it. It was more like focused on the music, and then it had like some live actors who were also acting out pieces from the movie. Okay. It was cool. I remember being cool, but like I said,
but Finding Nemo was so much better.
Finding Nemo was amazing, so I don't... then there was Journey into the Jungle,
Jungle Book.
Which was Jungle Book, that's what I meant to say. And that was there before Tarzan Rocks. So that was like really early, and it didn't run for very long. It was kind of, I think it was just kind of tacky. Like, some people liked it. I think a lot of people just didn't.
This area tacky?
What? Right. So, yeah, that one kind of didn't last long. Apparently, it was more like Finding Nemo the musical, and, like, it had the kind of big puppeteered, like, it had more big stuff. It was more of a production, whereas Tarzan Rocks was kind of more stripped down with just some little elements. So, you know, it was whatever. Apparently, it wasn't that popular. Of course, we were talking about Dinosaur Jubilee, which, you know, has had the skeleton exhibit, and because it was like Dinosaur Jubilee 98, Dinosaur Jubilee 99, and then they just named it Dinosaur Jubilee, and that was when I think it turned into the museum aspect. It just, like, just left it like a museum. And so it had, like, skeleton exhibits and stuff, and anyway, so it was the... basically where they were like trying to figure out what to do with Dinorama, so they put
education.
But it didn't last for very long. Or it was supposed to last not that long, but it lasted a lot longer than they intended it to. This was an interesting one. There was Sue the T-Rex, if people remember that from like the early 2000s, late 90s. That was a big deal. They ended up in the Field Museum, the dinosaur did. But the prep for it. So when they brought the bones in to get them prepped to be displayed, they were done in 2 places. It was done at the Field Museum in their facility there, and another facility that was at Dinoland USA.
Weird.
And you could actually go in and watch them prep see the T-Rex's bones in there. And so...
Interesting.
Yeah, it was like this whole thing. I had no idea. And maybe I even saw it because it would have been happening when I would have gone one of the first couple of times. But it's like flashes of memory, so I couldn't really tell you.
A while ago.
Right, it was quite a while ago. So because of that, they eventually took that facility down because now Sue is at the Field Museum and they don't need to do anything with it anymore. But they have a full original metal cast of the Sue bones, and that's right by the Dino Institute.
And that's the one at the entrance?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. So that's like one of like 3 original casts, and that's because that was like Sue was there for a while to be worked on. So
nice.
Yeah, it was like a whole thing, and that's really all I have. I don't know.
Well,
if
and then there's
more.
the character meet and greets.
Yes.
So now I'm going off of memory on this because now they do not announce them because, hey, COVID.
Hey.
That's changed everything. But when they did Donald's Dino Bash.
Oh, God.
So they changed the kind of theming to Dino-Rama to Donald's Dino Bash to try and link him being a bird duck thing to dinosaurs being their cousins.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
So they had a meet and greet with Donald and Daisy.
Yeah.
Donald dressed up as... I'm gonna say a bigger rooster. He just had like feather things. I don't get it. He's a bird wearing bird feathers.
Yeah.
How weird is that? I don't want to wear skin.
Yeah, like somebody else's skin.
On.
Yeah, that's scary.
Daisy was the costume designer for Donald's Dino Bash, so she showed up in like this shawl and looking like all designery. I know that there was a Goofy meet and greet in the carnival area.
Okay.
And I believe there was also one other that I'm forgetting. I have seen Scrooge. I've seen Launchpad McQuack.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Because,
again, Ducktail in there. Why not? Sure.
Ducks. Totally dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And there might be a couple others. I did meet Pluto outside of Chester and Hester's on that little walking path from Dino.
I've definitely run into Pluto on that. Yep.
To the Chester and Hester entrance there.
Yep.
Because there's a little back walking path. That way you don't have to go back to the big main walking area.
Yep.
And so I met him back there. I think you and I were...
Is that the two?
I think that might have been us. That was us.
That was us. Yeah.
But... Yeah. There might be others too that at one point in time had been there, but those are the ones that I'm remembering off the top of my head. But now with COVID, they have changed the way that they are presenting characters, and who knows when character meet and greets actually come
happen
back,
in the way that they do,
how they're going to reorganize those.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that I could think of that we didn't have
written down
on the list.
Well,
so that is Dinoland USA.
Much more detail rich than I would have ever assumed.
And it's a neat place to just look up and see all of the stuff that they've shoved in here.
Right.
Like I said before at the beginning, you have to really give the Imagineers credit. If they were given, a off the rack budget and able to come up with this huge story and make it Disney-fied.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos.
Good for them to given it all they could. So,
but yeah. This has been WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And we hope you have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everybody.